Saul, and I'm here today to start a brand new channel, first video. And today what we're going to do is, this is the first card that I ever purchased, and what I did is I sold things to get into this business because it is a very good, profitable business. This is a lower end card, it's not the higher end, and here's the mentality I think everybody should have. You should at least start with what you can afford. This card cost me about $160.11. And the reason why I tell you is to start is because even though this produces a small amount of coin in comparison to some other cards, if I have the profit of this and I return my profit within 3 to 6 months, and after that I'm actually making all profit except for the electricity that I'm consuming, and I have the coin, today the value of the coin is about $6,400. The coin eventually is going to go up. We're at the beginning stages of cryptocurrency and the markets and how everything is done. And as that value of that coin goes up, what I had in that small amount now goes up. It doubles and triples and quadruples and times 16s and times 32 of what I had. So it's worth getting small amounts of coin. As the coin goes up in value, you make a lot more money. So get the coin and be patient. Or if you really need money, now you can take some of that you're making from NiceHash or Awesome Miner or one of the programs or what pool you're going to, and you can cash those out when they'll allow you to do that, and now you have some running money. May it be $1 or $5 or 10 or 20, but at least you're producing and making money or making coin, and holding the coin makes you money over time. So I've investigated this fairly well, and this is why I'm doing this. This is the beginning stages of this company growing. I'm speaking into existence, and my company is going to grow, crypto is going to grow, and things are going to get better, and it's going to happen. So watch the channel, it will grow and become great, and you'll see a lot of good training and things in the future. So what we're going to do today is, the systems that you see behind me are systems I already had running, and we're going to install this card and hopefully get it up and running. You're going to see my mistakes, you're going to see my good, my bad, my things I don't know, and hopefully by the end of this video, this will run good. So let's get started. So one of the first things I'm going to have to do is all the cable management that I had. I was not designed to run with video production stuff, like cards and things of video. And that's why I put the cables here, because this was designed for my server that I was using for my web server, and I don't have that now. So I've moved my web server systems over to some other place, and I don't have this need for this machine. So now what I have to do is cut all this out of here and put the card in, and then do cable management, turn the machine back on, and then we're going to see if we can get it up and running and do some overclocking and see what kind of mega hashes we can do with NiceHash. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is we're going to come down and we're going to switch over to this machine. I have two that we're running. One is this one and one is that one, and they're both off of a dual monitor system. So when I have this machine running, on this one, I actually have these two monitors are controlled by this computer. When I want to get over to this machine and do things, I switch over to monitor or PC number 2, and it switches just this monitor. That's what these switchers do. It's called KVM, Keyboard Video Monitor Switcher. And there's lots of different kinds, but this was a standard one. It was fairly inexpensive, and it works for my needs. So now we've switched over. What I have to do is stop mining the CPU. And by the way, I'm using a program we'll get into later that I'm using the CPU, which is the fan up here, keeps the CPU cool over motherboard, and I'm mining it. Again, this is how I got started, and I decided I was going to do something to learn the software and learn what I'm doing. So now I've gotten to the stage where I've moved up to now having cards. So I tell anybody, yes, get started mining your CPU for education purposes and a little bit of coin, and then you can move up to getting your actual cards, whatever card you decide to get and you can afford, and move to the next stage. Everything you do is education and moving to the next stage, so that eventually you can get up to actually having mining rigs that are either pre-bought by Shark Mining or Mining Cave, I think. If you go to Google and type those names in, you should be able to find those websites, and they create pre-built mining rigs instead of doing your own. So whatever you feel to do, you can do that. All right, so let's get started. What we're going to do is we're going to turn off the CPU mining program, which is Awesome Miner, and we're going to stop the mining process. Okay, so now we stopped it. This is MSI Afterburner, which is for overclocking, which we're going to get into. So let's go ahead and let's get rid of some of the browsers. Here's another afterburner, Sapphire afterburner, YouTube channel. Let's close all this down. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to close off or close down the computer. Never, ever, 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 ever put cards in like this. This is a very, very old, very cheap, worthless card. Don't ever put something like this in your machine and think you're going to make any money at it. This is one of those CPU kind of cards that is for education. But this does the same thing. It clips in into a slot in the back. It's PCI slots. And then you can make tiny itty bitty little money with this. Alright, now I know that the actual machine's been turned off because I look at the CPU fan and it's off. I also have some fans here cooling the hard drives and those have been off. So you also have on a power supply, there's a switch normally in the back of it that I also turn off, and I also unplug the power that goes to the unit. Now I know there's no power coming to the motherboard because motherboards can also still have power even though you have turned off the power in the front of the computer. The transformers that power the motherboards still sometimes trickle power into the board. So if you think it's off in the front and you go to switch things out, in theory, you can blow things. It's a bad idea. So anytime you work on a machine, you're going to want to unplug it and also make sure that the fans are off, it's physically unplugged, and that the transformer's off. Or in this case, a power supply is what's normally called that. So now that I know it's off, and the other thing is I normally let it sit for about 5 to 10 seconds to make sure that the capacitors or anything inside these power supplies are now, what's the word I'm looking for? They discharge all the power in them. So I know that the motherboard now there's no current in it. You're going to find to know that you'll see this is a standard power cable that they use for all PCs for the most part. You'll see the end of this end. The other end is 110 volts. It plugs into an actual regular outlet like this. And I split the cable. Normally you don't see it, but inside this cable actually has commonly 3 wires if it's 110 volts. One's a green wire that's for ground, for safety. The other 2 are there's a black one and a white one. And this is where you get your 110 volts from. 240 has 2 hots and 1 neutral. And you also have it to ground. You normally don't get into 240 in regular PCs, so I'm not going to go over that now. So the reason why I did that is I want to find out the amperage or wattage that's coming into the computer, everything that's going to come into that machine. And I have a thing called an ampere reader. And what this does is this tells me when I clamp this meter over the top of the hot wire like this, in electricity, the power goes back and forth in AC current. The power goes back and forth at 60 times a second. That's very fast. And what happens is as it does that, it creates a frequency that goes in the air that you can't see. So this tool picks up that frequency and it tells me how many amperage is on this, and it tells me how much I'm consuming. So what normally you get is for every amp is about 120 watts of electricity. So when I read this in my head, I have to transfer whatever the number is here into wattage because this produces amperage. So every time you get 120 here, it's going to equal 1 amp, and that's about right. Okay. If you want to get technical, there's some percentages, but that's the purpose of this tool. So what we're going to do is turn this off for now. And the reason why I bought this one is this head rotates and flips backward and forward, both directions. So when I'm in an electric box, I can rotate it this direction, and the wires that come in and go into a box, sometimes they go sideways, and you have to clip it sideways. Sometimes they go straight on. Sometimes they go at angles. So it gives me that flexibility. All right, so let's do some power, some wire clipping here, and do some management. So be careful when you're doing this because you can very easily clip over a wire, and that's not good. So we'll go to the next one here. It's in the back.
20 seconds.
Okay. So then we'll go to the one up here, and we'll cut that one.